Start of the NBA season is near, so I'm here to catch you up on everything that happened in the offseason before the Timberwolves face the Raptors in Toronto, where they haven't won for 19 years. That's October 25th is their first game of the season. I'm going to be going through every Timberwolves game, trying to watch the entire game, giving my recaps, doing that for another season. So here is the Pulse of the Timberpups Season 2 Off-Season Review. I'm going to try to cover basically everything that's happened since my last video for the Pulse of the Timberpups, which was the Game 5 elimination against the Denver Nuggets, who would go on to win the NBA championship, and they kind of steamrolled just about every team on their way to doing that. So the Timberwolves having that fate as well doesn't look so bad in retrospect. However, my frustration wasn't with us losing to the Nuggets at that time, because I thought that they were probably the best team in the NBA at that time during that series. However, the bigger problem was that I saw the same issues of the postseason flaws of Finch that were happening in the Grizzlies series as well. We had really poor late game execution, especially offensively, and we were blowing leads. Saw that in Denver as well, and that was a lot of the frustration, especially also missing some studs in Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid. But holding our ground and being able to steal even more than one game if we had better execution, pretty good showing against the Nuggets, and we saw playoff Ant absolutely torching. And in the offseason, it was a gotcha doo-doo one for Anthony Edwards. He would get a supermax contract from the Timberwolves, which was deserving. Happy that we locked him up. He's a phenomenal player that I want to be the core of the franchise well into the future. He would also change from number 1 to his preferred number 5, which makes A1 from day one make a little less sense, but we'll get used to it, I suppose. I really loved him in 1, but that's now going to Kyle Anderson. Also, the really big thing with Anthony Edwards that kind of propped him up nationally was him playing for the national team. He was touted as clearly the guy on Team USA and the best player on a great team that had a pretty subpar finish, just getting 4th place in the tournament, which is below expectations for the USA. But Ant in specific would have a really tremendous showing in a FIBA World Cup that had a lot of involvement of Timberwolves players. Nickeil Alexander-Walker would have a nice run with Team Canada as they would get 3rd place, beating out Team USA in that bronze medal game. Dylan Brooks going crazy out of nowhere. Karl Anthony Towns was dominant with the Dominican Republic team, who exceeded expectations. Then for 2 teams that didn't do super well but still had participants, you had Rudy Gobert on France, and their team did not do well. Then also with China, Kyle Anderson or Lee Kyer.
I think you're telling the truth, but why are you saying it like you're lying?
Overall, it's just really great to see the dedication from the players on the team willing to play some unnecessary basketball, at least in the framework of the NBA. Now to talk about some of the roster updates. One thing that didn't change but was huge is that we kept Naz Reid. He gets a nice deal. I think it's about $12 million a year if I remember correctly. But keeping a player as talented and versatile as Naz was huge. He's also just electric to watch play the game. So the 2 big extensions of Naz Reid and Anthony Edwards, both well-deserved, and I'm feeling really good about those. Let's talk about some of the players we lost. Taurean Prince went over to the Lakers. Jalen Noel is now with the Kings. Austin Rivers no longer on the team. I think he might be not playing anywhere. I think he's doing TV or something instead. Our replacement of that group is pretty solid. We picked up Shake Milton previously with the 76ers. Can fill a similar role of Jalen Noel as he's a bench scorer that can really pop off and give you great scoring in isolation. However, a bit better of a 3-point shooter than Jalen Noel, which that was kind of his Achilles heel. So he should be a bit more of a steady performer than Noel. Still with a unique, nice game, and I think Shake is a really nice signing. Then we got Troy Brown Jr., who was recently with the Lakers last season. I've been kind of up and down on him. Watching him in the preseason, though, he's been playing pretty well. Known mostly as a 3-and-D role player. His game didn't pop for me a lot on the Lakers, but I think he could be a good piece. Timberwolves also drafted a wing, Leonard Miller, who I think is 6'10", seems to be a really good rebounder, can also shoot the ball decently well. He's a lefty. Seems like he's kind of got an awkward game and a little unconventional. However, can shoot the ball and brings a lot of really positive attributes. It's just not super smooth yet. Unlikely he's going to be in the normal rotation this year, although his game's been looking pretty good in preseason as well. Which can be said for most of the team, as they did go 5-0 in preseason this year. Not that that's anything that means they're going to have success long term, but hey, it's a thing that happened in the offseason. That's why we're here. I'm also here for this year's edition of the uniforms. They look really fresh. Especially last year, they were nothing to be too proud of, I thought. And the direction they went this year, I think they've got some really nice alternates. And my superiordom certainly was tumultuous last season, as well as my thoughts on Chris Finch. However, we've got a great omen going into this year. I saw Chris Finch while I was eating dinner in the summer, went over to him, shook his hand, wished him luck. Also saw that he had those Palpatine bags under his eyes. And that was before the preseason even started. That's the mark of a good coach. The bags under the eyes. Those guys do not sleep. So Finchy has my well wishings. He got them in person even. And I hope that we can do really great things this year. It's not going to be easy whatsoever, though. It's not the expectation that the Timberwolves are going to be great this year. The Western Conference is entirely stacked. It's probably going to be a bloodbath, even more than last year. Kind of the bottom tier teams all got better in the West, which may be good for us because we really struggled against the worst teams in the NBA last season. So maybe that's just what we need. If there's no bottom feeders, then we never drop the level of our play and we're just always good. That might work out for us. But there's so many teams in the NBA, in the West especially, that you can make the argument that that team can go on a run, that team can win a championship. And so it's going to be a lot about chemistry, I feel like, this year, and health. So a lot is going to have to go right for this team to take off. And so every little thing matters. Do right by the basketball gods. Maybe retire Kevin Garnett's number. I think that would get us on the way to potentially get rid of the Ragnarok curse. I sure would love that. That's just about all of the happenings of the offseason. I feel like the vibes with the Timberwolves are pretty good, pretty positive right now. I'm really looking forward to this year. Have high hopes for the team. I'm going to try to not lose my mind watching Rudy Gobert play basketball. And I think that watching Anthony Edwards play basketball is really going to help in that process. I'll be here every damn game. That's it for the Pulse of the Timberpups preview. Peace out.